So compression, we're going to talk about compressors that basically, okay. I made a lot of music and heard so much about compression before I even had the most basic understanding. And if you can't hear it, it seems like this impossible concept. And that's made all the more convoluted by the fact that there are so many compressors that look and sound completely different one to the next. And you do a million different things and you're cycling through presets and trying to figure out what's up. We're not going to talk about different compressors one to the next and how one affects the sound over the other. We're going to talk about how to dial it in with 4 basic parameters, right? Attack, release, ratio, and threshold. And we're gonna figure out how to hear compression using those and then dial it in so that we can get the sound that we're after. Let's jump into it. So there are a lot of different kinds of compressors, as you can imagine. We're not gonna worry about that like I'd said. We're just gonna worry about the 4 basic controls. So for myself, I do prefer the analog style compression, not for any other reason than it makes me listen to the music a little more than I would with something with a really cool UI. Sometimes if it's an awesome looking plugin, I'll get convinced that it's doing more than it actually is. So I stick with the boring knobs a lot of the time. Anyway, just showing you what's up. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use this basic Van Audio free comp because, well, it's free. It's really accessible. It's got everything we need. And I guess, you know what, I'm presuming base knowledge of this stuff, and I don't know if I should be. Oversimplification of what a compressor does is it takes the peaks, like highest volume portions of your track, and just turns the volume down. Nothing's like jumping out at you, or it controls that sort of dynamic, right? So the threshold is the point at which the compressor turns on. So after a certain amount of signal, then the compressor turns on. Your attack is how fast the compressor reacts to a signal crossing the threshold. Sorry, my dog's barking. Release is the opposite of that. How long the compressor stays on before it turns off. And the ratio is how much volume is turned down. So for every 1 decibel of signal that passes that threshold, it turns down whatever. For example, the bass is 2 to 1 here. Thanks for listening. I'm gonna use an acoustic guitar track. It's not EQ, it's just a raw scratch tech, so be nice. There we go. Not EQ'd or anything, just a raw track. So what we're gonna do to find the settings we'd like is we're gonna throw the threshold all the way down, ratio all the way up, attack to as fast as it'll go, release to as fast as it'll go. There's some makeup gain stuff because when you're compressing this much, the signal is not audible. So I click in the makeup. I'll see what I can do about this in like editing, I guess, but see how this sounds. So I clipped out my DAW. Let's see what happens when we just attack. It's hard to ignore the distortion, sure. What's happening is as soon as that transient or acoustic guitar hits, it's compressing really aggressively, and that's causing a lot of dissonance, right? So what we're going to do is dial this in, and what we're looking for is how do we want the acoustic guitar to sound, right? Like we don't want it to be so plucky and picky like you would a snare drum, but we do want to hear a little bit of the strum and the pick. Let's play it back and adjust the attack until it feels good. Feeling there. So we've got our attack dial. Let's dial in the release. So the release is going to be the same sort of thing. This is where you get the groove. So we're going to mess around with the release and listen to where it feels good. Let's turn up the gain a little so we can hear it. That's crazy long. It'll be around here. To me, that sounds right. One quick way to get kind of a baseline is you can use a little bit of math, right? So if your BPM is 150, for example, that's how many quarter notes are in a minute. So what you can do is divide that into 60,000. I got a calculator on my phone right here. So what that'll do is open the compressor every quarter note. So let's say 60,000, because that's how many milliseconds are in a minute over your BPM. 400 millisecond release time for quarter notes. So I like to usually do that for eighth notes, right? So let's divide 60,000 into 300, and 200 milliseconds, your compressor is going to open every eighth note on 150 BPMs, right? So that's like a quick way to do that. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to dial in the ratio, and it's the same story, just until it feels musical and amplifies the groove. So again, anything over 10 to 1, anything over 10 to 1 is a brick wall, essentially. It's limiting after that. So let's just kind of start there. I'm leaning more towards the 3 than the 2, but splitting hairs, whatever. We'll go 2.88, that's fine. And then the magic number is the threshold. So with the threshold, we just want to adjust it so that it's just the peaks, like just the loud parts that is actually being compressed. And we're gonna dial that up until that's all we're getting. And again, don't look at this silly graph, just use your ears. Okay, so let's see if we can notice the difference A to B. Raw tracks. So you'll notice a lot of the quieter parts are brought up as well. Because the whole signal, the differential between the parts is really small now. So that is how I was taught to hear and dial compression. A little bonus tip. So we've got this guy here, taming the peaks. Fun thing you can do, run a couple compressors back to back, right? Because as you saw, when compression happens really heavily on the one thing, it can cause some distortion. It doesn't sound nice. So one compressor doing a lot of heavy lifting is generally a bad idea. But one compressor doing a little bit, and then another compressor doing a little bit, and then maybe some compression down the line, those little incremental bits add up to being a big, noticeable, awesome difference. But it's not as aggressive. So let's keep this free comp as kind of our base, and we'll go over to this here clang help, which I really like. I really like this guy. So we're gonna add some fun characteristics and color to this sound with the second compressor, and it's not going to be overwhelming. So again, we'll keep the attack and ratio the same or comparable, up to 48, so that we're not fighting. There we go, good enough. Okay, and you can see the video here where it's just taking those loud transient bits. We'll saturate those a little bit. Anyway, that's just something I like to do. I don't know if I would do it that aggressively, but see the difference now? Anyway, there you have it. That's, like I said, that's how I was taught to hear and dial compression. I hope that made sense to you guys. The more you exercise this skill, the better you're going to be at it. Like everything else, the closer the sound will be to what you had initially in mind. I hope that's it for today. Talk to you next time. Yeah, I guess we're going.